Welcome all to New Hampshire Peace Action's Peace and Justice Conversation Series online. For 40 years now, New Hampshire Peace Action has been dedicated to creating a world in which nuclear disarmament, mutual security, global understanding, international cooperation, and respect for human rights create social, economic, and environmental benefits for all. In the spirit of respect, we'd like to start off tonight by acknowledging that we are doing our work here in New Hampshire on the traditional ancestral homelands of the Abenaki, Pennacook, and Wabanaki people, past and present. We honor with gratitude the land and waterways that they have been stewarding throughout generations. Thanks to Indigenous New Hampshire for that map. We'll put a link to that group, to Indigenous New Hampshire, in the chat so you can connect with them and join them in their continued work. A quick word on Zoom etiquette. We love when you keep your video on so we can see you, but we do ask that you stay muted and use the chat to ask questions for now. This every other week online series has been a way for us to engage, learn, and figure out how to make changes that we have all been working for. The upheavals of 2020 inspired us to start it, but we are going to keep it going as one way to not return to business as usual. And tonight's episode, we are really, really happy to welcome a speaker from Friends Forever International. They are an organization headquartered right around the corner from me in Durham, New Hampshire, and they've been bringing young people together to connect across divides since 1986. Their first program, as I understand it, was made up of Catholic and Protestant youth from Northern Ireland. And today we welcome Úna Hendron, who's part of a new generation of Friends Forever International leaders from Northern Ireland. She first joined with them in 2017 and has stayed involved, helping empower and encourage young people all over the world. And I'm really excited about this. As a half Irish American woman, I have followed issues there, and I'm really just thrilled to connect with her tonight. So join me in welcoming Úna.
That's thank you and hello to everyone. Thank you all so much for coming to hear me today from wherever you may be in the world. I really appreciate it. As Amy said, my name is Úna. I am 22 years old and I'm from a small town in Northern Ireland. And yeah, I'm here to talk to you today because I'm part of an organization called Friends Forever International. And for those of you who maybe don't know so much about us, we are a cross-community, cross-cultural youth program that was founded in 1986 by a man named Bob Raish in response to a period of violence happening in Northern Ireland at the time, which is known as the Troubles. And to explain that loosely, there was a conflict between the predominantly Protestant Unionist community and the predominantly Catholic nationalist community, and I'll discuss that properly later. Because of this, Bob got in contact with the YMCA in Northern Ireland and brought these 5 Catholic and 5 Protestant boys to New Hampshire, where they had the very first Friends Forever program, and that centered around coming together, learning life skills, and learning the importance of working together. This is still a really important part of the current Friends Forever programs, but they have evolved in so many ways since then. While the programs still put a strong emphasis on communication, they now center around working together to make a difference all over the world. Our teams have the freedom to honor their personal identities, but they also create a team identity. And our core components, or our recipe of resilience, empathy, communication, impact, playfulness, and effort, are a focus for everything our teams do now. The current standard program is a year-long program made up of 3 phases. The first phase is the team building phase, where the team come together in their community or on Zoom to get to know each other and bond as a team before they go to their second phase, where they spend 2 weeks either in the US or Northern Ireland, just depending where they're from, to help with local charities and organisations, learn about their own communities and the communities they visit, as well as do workshops on things like improv and on leadership. The third phase is where they run their own little program of whatever issue they feel is present in their community. They run their own program to target that. I applied for my program just after turning 17. From the application process, I knew that this would not be an easy ride, but it was one that I definitely wanted to go on. Because of my age, this was my last chance to apply, so a lot was riding on my selection process, and I was over the moon to be selected to join Friends Forever. I'm not going to lie, my program came at a difficult time for me because it was the start of my final year of high school, where we do our most important exams. And I knew I would be giving a lot of my time to Friends Forever, but I was supported in so many ways with balancing out school and FFI. I knew pretty early on that my team was not the standard Friends Forever team. For a small town in Northern Ireland, our community is very diverse, with many people from all different parts of Europe living there. And I'm highlighting this because I really want to celebrate this beautiful diversity and peace in such a divided country. And this unique mix of cultures was a big element of our program, because every program is really shaped around the team and the people in it. Since being a participant, my involvement with Friends Forever hasn't ended. In Northern Ireland, I've been part of the alumni movement, going to meetups over in our Northern Irish Centre in Alumni, and out and about just with other alumni. Also studying in the city of Derry or Londonderry, same place, different political opinions on what it's called, encouraged me for the future of Friends Forever. In the middle of Derry, Londonderry, there is a bridge over the River Foyle called the Peace Bridge. It quite literally bridges 2 communities together which have a long history of division, which is what I really want to do as a Friends Forever alumni, as we work in areas that have experienced, divisions or different hardships. And I consider this a reminder to look around you and gather all the experiences you can and use them to build a better future. Another thing I did with Friends Forever was be an alumni trainer in summer 2019. While we were there, we met and researched new organisations in the area. We also led workshops for teams of young people, visited members of the community with them, and acted as a guide for them as people who had gone through the programme ourselves. There is no feeling like the feeling I got from a young person saying that I specifically made a difference to him. This was when we were doing a workshop on speeches, and he was really struggling with it. And he just said that me, like little old me, made a difference for him. So it really meant a lot. And it was a goal of mine in the summer to let the young people and my fellow alumni know that they matter, not only as a team, but as individuals as well. Friends Forever came to my community because of its history during the Troubles, but growing up, I had no idea that there had been conflict in my town. It was just the town that I grew up in and nothing more than that. My earliest memory of there being a division was when I had to write my religion on a form in primary school or elementary school, and I didn't know why my mum was annoyed by this question. Then, as we grew up, we started to take notice of things like why there are huge bonfires on the 12th of July, the fact that there are different flags in different parts of town, and why you couldn't wear your Gaelic football shirt in certain parts of the town. In high school, I started to learn about the conflict in history, but also from the people around me. Cross-community workshops with Protestant schools were great, but they also highlighted the fact that our schools were segregated based on religion. Then as a teenager and now as a young adult, I started to see all these things happen around me, like fights in my local park, or people being beat up or killed in different parts of the country. That photo actually is a photo of one of the bonfires. And you can see there like I think they're like flats or a house beside it. It's just as tall, if not taller of it than the house. So it's pretty noticeable when you're out and about. But yeah, going to university in Derry, Londonderry, especially, I got to learn about a different community's experience of the Troubles, which was much, much bigger than my own community's. It saw a lot of violence through the Troubles. One of the events that people feel kicked off the main period of the Troubles happened in Derry, Londonderry, which is known as Bloody Sunday, when 26 unarmed people were shot. And in the time I was in Derry, Londonderry, just on that photo, that's a pretty like well-known photo. I believe it's a priest, and you can't see it very well, but he's holding a white handkerchief because the people behind him are carrying someone who's been injured. But yeah, in this time that I was in Derry, Londonderry, there was a car bomb in a main part of the city, which very nearly got a young girl, I think, who was walking past it. And a young woman got shot in that time that I was there when she was reporting on a fight in another part of town. But I recently went back to Derry, Londonderry to go to see the fireworks for Halloween because it's really, really big there. And while I stood on the street and saw all these beautiful sparkles and colours, I turned around to see so many happy, smiling faces looking up, laughing with their families, smiling with their friends. And I really saw a community that had experienced so much pain and grief and loss, especially over the past 2 years with the pandemic. But they were together experiencing this beautiful moment. And this is why I admittedly feel strange talking about the Troubles, particularly in my own community. I am by no means an expert, and I'm not even someone who lived during this time. I grew up just after the peace process began. I was born 2 years after the Good Friday Agreement, which is the law that was created to end violence in Northern Ireland. So I only know stories about these times. And there is a huge generational trauma that we carry from the Troubles. Also, to me, my town isn't this big place where all this violence happened. It's the town I grew up in. It's where I went to school. It's where my brother has his Gaelic football practice. It's where my dad goes to work. But we have reminders of the past every day, and it has definitely shaped our present, but it's not the thing that defines my community, and it is in no way the thing that defines me. There is an entire generation of young people who deserve to build whatever future they want, no matter what the foundations are. Along with this conflict, mental ill health is a major problem in my community and across Northern Ireland. In 2020, 1/5 of all adults in Northern Ireland had a mental health problem. It's a huge problem that is not being addressed nearly as much as it should be. It is so strange that such a major problem that has affected almost everyone, directly or indirectly, it is just kept so quiet. There have now been more deaths from people who have taken their own lives since the Troubles ended than all of the deaths caused by violence during the Troubles, which is shocking. In my community, we've seen far too many people lose their lives because they felt alone, including some people that were close to me, and that just needs to end. And if letting people know that they matter changes that, I want to let people know that they matter at any opportunity I have, which I strive to do with all my Friends Forever activities. Another honor that I had with Friends Forever was being selected to come to New Orleans in November of 2019 for an alumni training program. This is my team, and as team packs, we did service projects, team building activities, learned how to strengthen our skills, and we got to explore the amazing New Orleans. We had a chance to learn about the history and the culture there, and we met with organizations like the Innocence Project and the New Orleans base for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which really struck me. We got to explore the diverse and beautiful communities and meet so many amazing people. And a moment that really struck me here was traveling through the Lower Ninth Ward and going to the Lower Ninth Ward Museum and meeting Miss Leona Tate, who is one of the young girls who desegregated schools in the South. You may know the name Ruby Bridges, but that same day that she desegregated a school, 9 minutes earlier were Leona Tate, Tessie Prevost, and Gail Etienne. I really hope I'm saying their names correctly because they deserve it. They desegregated another school together in the area. While we were with Leona Tate, we learned about the things that she had continued on to do, like setting up a charity, and their base, which is so cool, is now based in the building which used to be the school that they desegregated. That's just amazing to me. And not too long after this visit to New Orleans, the pandemic hit. During lockdown, it felt like we were further apart than ever, but in the Friends Forever world, this didn't last. Pretty quickly, we started having daily Zoom calls as alumni and sometimes with people in the Friends Forever community. There are people that I met through those calls that I have never met in person, yet I feel that we're close friends. Meeting virtually gave us something to look forward to and a way to be connected without being in the same country even. Some of us started having calls with residents in an assisted living facility called Riverwoods. These included many different workshops and finding out the residents' nicknames when they were younger and the careers they dreamed of as kids versus the ones that they actually ended up having. And even in the middle of a pandemic, when leaving the house more than once was breaking the law, we found a way to bring people together. And much like Friends Forever, drama has taught me a lot. Drama is what I studied and I just love it. I have learned to be resilient and how to get up after every time you get rejected. It's very easy to think that you haven't been successful or to focus on the person that's doing better than you. But I have been to countless auditions where I have walked away without getting a role, but for all those auditions, there have been successes. I've had the honour of performing in the beautiful and historical Grand Opera House in Belfast, and I've got to be in short films, and I'm going to study what I love even more through a master's programme next year. And I've had the opportunity to tie drama in with Friends Forever through some of our workshops, like our workshop on improv. And I've loved drama since I was 4 years old. This was always going to be what I went on to do. Last year, I graduated after studying drama at the University of Ulster in Derry, Londonderry. And I don't know if she's on, but my mum would not forgive me if I didn't say that I graduated with first class honours after a year and a half of studying under a lockdown. And around this time last year, I got my diploma for teaching speech and drama. This meant a lot to me because I felt sad that I didn't have it yet. And just after studying speech and drama for so long. So in summer 2020, I decided to start working towards it. No teacher, no tutor, just the knowledge that I'd gained so far and books, lots and lots of books. I remember getting the standard book that you have to get for this exam and showing it in a Friends Forever call. And that was the moment where it's like, okay, this is real. I'm actually going to go and sit this exam, this gave me an even bigger sense of achievement when I passed, because it had been a pretty independent thing. You could say that I was going to go into drama before I was born. My granny, Úna Hendron, taught speech and drama for most of her life. So my brother and sister and I were always going to have some kind of involvement in the arts. I don't know what I would be doing if I didn't do drama. So I'm very grateful for my granny, and I feel connected to her even if she's no longer with us. I know I said earlier that I want to disconnect from violence in the past, but it needs to be mentioned and reflected on in order to work towards peace. This is a real passion of mine. It's time to start being known for peace more than violence. That's with regards to my community. There are more youth clubs in my area than there are pubs, which is such a step forward. It shows us that the young people in my community are ready for peace. We are ready for change, and we are ready to create that change. I know this has probably been a bit quick, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking too quick for some people, but before I end this little section, I thought I would share a story with you. A while ago, I listened to a podcast where there was this famous magician called Dynamo who was talking about one of the subjects that he knows best, magic. And he talked about his biggest tricks, like famous card tricks or walking on water. And he then went on to talk about what magic really is. And it's a sentiment that I really share. Magic is in the moments. Magic is having the fortune of sitting with my family every night for dinner. Magic is seeing a little boy ride his bike for the first time in that same park where all this violence has happened. Magic is getting to go for coffee with your friend of a different religion safely in town. Magic is putting a smile on somebody's face. For all of us at Friends Forever, alumni and staff, magic is making a difference in your community and somebody else's community. Magic is letting a young person know that they matter. And I want to say to all of you that you matter and you're important. And thank you very much for listening. And I am open to any questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Una. That was really, really beautiful. I'm really moved here. So, folks, take a breath and get your questions in order. You might just need a moment to process a little. I feel sure folks are going to come up with things. Let's see if I can start us off, though. Okay, here we've got one already from Will. How would you describe what was at the heart of the Troubles?
Oh, that is a big one. Thank you very much. I would say it's, that division between, it's largely Protestants who are unionists and Catholics that would be nationalists. So definitely that unionist nationalist divide, which I mean, that goes back like 800 years. So like you guys have places to be this evening. So I'll give you like a little brief, bit on that. But yeah, there's a really long history of that. Northern Ireland is, I guess by like politics and like healthcare and everything like that, it's seen as like a separate state kind of. So there's big, history of that. So it really like boiled up to this period of conflict. And then things like Bloody Sunday that I mentioned really kicked off like the main part of the violence.
Great, thanks. It is a very long history. Yeah. A hard one to sum up. Hey, have you watched Dairy Girls?
Oh yeah, right. So studying in Derry and like living there, it's such a huge thing. And they love it. I wish I put in a photo actually, because they have like a mural, a big mural of like the main, the main people in Derry Girls. And like it's all that anybody talked about, especially when I would say to people there that I was doing drama. They're like, oh, you're a little Derry girl. Yeah, they go wild for it, and it's pretty good. And I mean, like I said, like I didn't live during that time, but from what I hear, it's pretty accurate to what was going on.
I love it. And there's one scene where they're studying for a history test, and James is complaining, "Oh my God!" And the Michelle says, "Well, if you people had stopped invading us for 5 seconds, we wouldn't have to learn all this." It's really, really has a light touch of some very, very intense stuff. It's done beautifully. And of course, stories is such an important way we learn. Okay, more questions are coming in here. Okay. So Nancy Joe asks, how did your brother and sister or others in your family feel about your getting involved with Friends Forever?
Oh, they loved it. I've been trying to, my brother, so he's, like I mentioned, like he's big into his sports, but I'd love to get him involved any way he can. My sister, so one thing, my sister's a year older than me, and one project I would really love to get going in Friends Forever is like an 18 to 25 one. And she's ready to sign up for that. So yeah, they're big support of it. We share the same kinds of, ideas and, views. So they love it.
Great. Michael is wondering a little more about the geography of it. Were the troubles, well, he's saying all over or mostly in the cities? Can you talk a little bit about where the violence was centered?
Yeah, so a lot of the violence, I mean, there was violence dotted about all over. Like my town's fairly small, but there was also, I'd say, like the main, to my knowledge, again, like not a historian, but the main parts of the violence would have been in Derry, but like mainly in Belfast, which is the capital of the North. So yeah, they would have seen the worst of the violence probably.
I'm going to share what Mike said because it speaks to this intergenerational, both the generational trauma, which seems to, now what we know about epigenetics, there's a lot going on there. But also the way that another generation can move forward the peace process. Mike said that my friend was an elderly Irishman who had anger towards soldiers till his dying day. He never could recover or really forgive. I don't know, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I feel like generational trauma is like a big thing that we feel. I can't remember the name of it, but my sister listens to this podcast, and the person on it said that apparently some of the like trauma that people today, like it, North and South feel is even rooted from like the famine, which is crazy. But yeah, there's definitely a huge knock-on effect. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's very real, but also really lovely to see how, the younger generations have a chance to be working even harder on creating a new story, which is what's so beautiful about what you're talking about. So from David, what have you learned about conflicts in other parts of the world from working with Friends Forever? And what common lessons have you shared?
Well, I would say the common lessons definitely would be just the need for peace rather than violence. We also work with alumni, participants, and I've gotten to know them as alumni from Israel and Palestine. They face, a huge conflict there. And talking to them, it's just that need for peace rather than violence, because that's just putting us backwards when we need to go forwards. So yeah, we definitely feel that the need for peace as the common thing with that.
Yeah. Addie, I think I'm saying the name right, says a lot of people believe in peace or wish for it, but very few are hopeful or act against violence. As someone who is hopeful and has been acting, what has pushed you to work for peace? What inspires and sustains you?
Yeah, I am very lucky to have had an upbringing where my parents said, ignore all of this stuff that's going around, like I was saying, it's not something like very, very young age, didn't notice this. I was just going about my business. And then as I started to be aware of these things and ask questions, my parents said, this doesn't matter, is this person nice? Well, then great, talk to them. It doesn't matter where they grow up or where they go on a Sunday morning. They're just a person. So I guess the thing that upbringing, that I've never really felt the, need for violence. So that just has driven me on. I've seen too many violent things happen. Like, I've heard too many stories to ever, think of stopping, driving towards peace. So yeah.
And do you think that is it getting easier for the younger generations to do that?
I feel there's definitely more young people stepping up for peace, and even things like climate change. There's definitely more young people getting involved and really making their voices heard, which is amazing.
Related to that, Amelia is asking here, how are young people in Northern Ireland still working towards peace and to heal these divisions?
I would say through organizations like Friends Forever. And like I said, there are a lot of youth clubs in my community, and so many young people are involved in some form of youth club or cross community sports team or a drama club. It's all around you, efforts to achieve peace are all around you as much as stories of the past are. And it's slowly getting more and more, peace organizations or cross community groups, which is just what we need.
Yeah, so these groups are integrated.
Yeah, there's a lot of integrated groups. Like I said, yeah, sports teams, drama clubs, just ordinary youth clubs where people are coming together to have fun and go on trips.
Are the school systems, I hear that the school systems are still pretty segregated. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I touched on that, but yeah, the school systems are largely segregated based on religion. And yeah, we've made so many steps forward, but you turn around and look, there's still that. There are some integrated schools, but they're still largely segregated, I would say, from my own experience.
Yeah, the stats back that up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still work to do, which is fine. um, yeah. Alex is wondering if you can tell us more about the peace walls in Northern Ireland.
Oh, yeah. So that is in Belfast. There are peace walls. So they were made, not sure what year they were built, but they were built to create peace between the Protestant and Catholic community in Belfast. But, how does a wall create peace? You can't see over the other side. There's no way to talk through a wall. So they still exist. There's efforts to try and bring those down because it's 2022 and we're not killing each other anymore. And yeah, they're just one little obstacle in the way that people like us at Friends Forever would love to go away.
Interesting. I didn't even know they were still there. Backtracking a little bit, David was wondering so this school segregation, he was asking, is it based on geography? Is it because I think he's saying, is it because Protestants and Catholics don't live near each other, or is it more specifically?
I would say it's more just based on religion. You can, like, my school was like 30 minutes away from me, even though there was one like right around the corner. You can go wherever you want to, but yeah, it is more like the reason for the segregation would be more based on religion.
Okay, yeah. And Kurt this seems connected in terms of the clergy, Catholic and Protestant. Have they been helpful in, are they part of the problem or the solution? Or both?
I mean, if I'm honest, I'm not 100% sure on that one. I'm not sure who is to blame. I'm not sure who is to blame, but yeah, I'm not 100% on that one, I'm afraid.
That's okay. You don't have to know. Okay. Now you touched on this a little bit, but Joel would like you to say more about, have you gotten to know Israelis and Palestinians through Friends Forever, and what similarities and differences do you see, opportunities and challenges? Can you talk even more about that specific, how you connecting to those folks?
Yeah, we totally have. So for a while now, Friends Forever have had teams from Israel and Palestine, and they've, as far as I know, so far followed that standard program of coming together in their own community and heading out to the US and then going back to create a project together. And I love every single Middle East alumni that I have met so far. And yeah, we connect. I suppose we can connect over the conflict and similar ideas that might surround that, but we just connected, as young people on different things. And they're some of my best friends. I just got here 2 days ago and I need to reply to texts from my Middle East alumni friends who are checking in on me. But yeah, I've had just the amazing ability to have these friends from, halfway across the world. And yeah, they're as good friends as the ones who live 5 minutes away.
Nice. I'm interested, what are your plans? You're here in New Hampshire, just arrived, as you said. What work are you going to be doing? What's on your agenda while you're here?
Yeah, I only just realized I never said, because this is on Zoom, I'm in New Hampshire. I am not in Northern Ireland, and my plans, they're very open. So I will be for a while doing different projects and things in the community, getting together with some different people. But then in a month, we are going to have a group from both Northern Ireland and the Republic come over. They're 12 girls, I believe, and they are going to have their own like workshops and things to do, and I will be helping to plan that and facilitate that when they are over here. And yeah, that I would say that's probably going to be the main thing that I'll be doing over here.
Nice. Okay. I'm glad. Is this one of the? I'm sure COVID shut down some of the travel part. Is this one of the first ones back up and running, or?
It's I was supposed to come out here, I think originally summer of last year, and then October of last year, and then 2 weeks ago, and finally I am here.
Yeah.
Our teams through the pandemic, there has been a big shift to online, and there have been a few virtual teams from different parts of the US. Addie was part of one of those teams, and they got to come here to our base in New Hampshire. But this is our first international team who are coming over as part of a program, and we had alumni. I think it was just Middle East alumni and alumni from different parts of the US came to help when those virtual teams became not virtual and came to the base. So yeah, we're just getting back into it.
I have a question about COVID. So the pandemic, I think it seems to me different places, it's been both an opportunity for people to connect and, have the sense like we're in this together. But in other places, including, I believe, the United States, it's then become a real source of division. What's been the experience in Ireland? Has this been something that's helped more unify people, or been another problem to be kind of another division? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I would say it hit us in the way that it hit a lot of people. We were, of course, divided because we couldn't go anywhere, but there was a sense of coming together. I'm thinking locally there were groups set up where people would post on Facebook or whatever that they were going to do groceries runs for people who had COVID and couldn't leave the house, and checking in on older people who were maybe isolated alone or had to isolate for a long time. I think it was the first 12 weeks at the start. If you were vulnerable or over 70, you had to quarantine just the whole time. And, it was very long, very tough on people. But I would say it brought people together in a like we're all in this together kind of sense. So yeah, but it was difficult, like it was for everybody else, I'm sure.
Yeah, though, I mean, the silver linings are important. I mean, I can say in terms of localizing, I'm a small farmer, and I know in the farming community, there's been a huge, people have a lot more clients now, a lot of customers, people recognizing the value in that. So, that's the nice things when you see that it actually made lasting connections as well, even while it was keeping us apart from each other. So yeah. Okay, here's one for you. This is from Kurt. I'm curious too. I'm not sure what you'll have to say about this, but let's see. Do you support a united Ireland, and do you believe it will happen?
Yeah, I saw this one come up when you were asking the last question, so I've like mentally prepared a little bit. I mean, I have no idea if it'll happen. Things are very politically up in the air, like with COVID, with Brexit. The whole border conversation is up and down and all over the place. Politically, we're due to have an election May 5th because the leader of like our local government resigned recently. So technically we don't really have local government right now, which was the case for 3 years. I think that ended like 2018. So like maybe 2015 to 2018. I'm not sure. We had no government. So no real decisions could be made. So things are really up in the air. I am not sure if or when there will be a united Ireland. I'm really not the expert on that one. Again, sorry.
We appreciate hearing from you on it, even if you're not an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to turn David's statement into a question. He was saying how it's really important to find ways to keep working together after the initial encounter, to just like come together for a week and then nothing. It's about the ongoing relationship. And he's saying how it sounds like Friends Forever is doing a great job of that. Do you want to say more about how they do that and how that works?
How, which way, sorry?
Keeping the relationship ongoing, when the
Oh,
folks
yeah.
come together, cross division, but then go back to their communities. What are the ways that those relationships and those connections are nurtured?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that because that is one of the biggest things for us at the moment is keeping that relationship ongoing after the year-long program has ended. We have a really big alumni movement. That's how I'm involved and that's how I'm here right now. There's a big emphasis on this being a family and a community that you can always come back to, which is something that I have felt lacking in some other like youth programs locally. But there's so many opportunities to come back after you have been in the program and participated. And if you can't, if it doesn't mean you have to cancel everything and come out to New Hampshire. You can get involved through Zoom. You can get involved through local things. If you meet up with another alumni or meet up with someone who wants to know about Friends Forever, you've done a good job. So there's so many alumni, so many opportunities to get involved, whether it's meeting up with people who want to know about Friends Forever, meeting up with different charities and like organizations on behalf of Friends Forever and running workshops for the participants. And yeah, there's so much.
Robin has a question. First, she just wants to say it's so good to hear about these meaningful relationships with people in the Middle East. Now, saying, what are your thoughts and feelings around comparing conflicts as members of communities in conflicts and as outsiders too? Do you understand and want to say something about that?
Yeah, totally. So this is actually a bit of a conversation that I had with Amelia earlier when I was talking about, what I was going to say here. And, you definitely, it's something to connect over. Like I said, with the Israeli and Palestinian alumni, it was something to connect over the similar themes that are there in the conflict. But I personally would never try to compare and say, well, we had this happen and we had all this violence, and, have somebody else go, well, we had this and we had this, you really try and stay away from that, comparing and that like tit for tat type of situation. But there are ways to connect and bond over that trauma, so it's a connection, but we're very careful about how to have that conversation.
Right. That's really smart because, yeah, we all have suffering that we can connect around unless we turn it into that competitive suffering kind of thing. And then it can, again, drive us away. It's really important. And what are some other places in the world where Friends Forever is working and bringing people together? We've been hearing from you and about Ireland, and we know Palestine and Israel. Where else?
Yeah, we're working all over the place. All those places that you mentioned, up and down the US, in Belize, in Uganda. There is a program running at the moment with young people in Uganda. We have worked in Cyprus. Oh, you name it, we've been there, anywhere. It's not necessarily just a conflict, but just an area that has some kind of need, some kind of issue to be addressed. That's where we'll go.
You said you're working in the US. I understand. I think so. I know that groups come here from other places and do some work in the US. Are you also working with US communities to bring?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's groups from Illinois, and there are groups that are made up of young people from all over the US. That was our virtual teams. They were made up of young people from all different parts of the US. And yeah, they came together in New Hampshire physically, but they were Zooming from all over.
That's great. I know other programs that have been based in the US but focused elsewhere have now been doing more work internally, understanding that we have a lot of divisions to heal and a lot of things to learn from people who elsewhere have made some progress, some really, really amazing progress. And yeah, okay, we have time for a couple more. Kurt wants to know what you've observed so far from being in the US. Do you have any thoughts to share on your experience so far?
Yeah, my experience so far, like this time, it's been the office, a cafe, and out to get groceries. That's been as far as I've gone this time, but I know what you mean. Yeah, I've got to go back. Like I was talking about it earlier, I've got to go back a couple of times and explore all different parts, New Hampshire and New Orleans, two very different places, and I've got to learn about people in both places. It's so great. I just keep pinching myself today and saying, I'm in America, what the heck, and I've met so many amazing people, and any person I have met has just been great, whether it's, a state representative or a person I met at a community event. It's just been amazing to connect with people. There are beautiful, beautiful places I've seen, the thing about Boston, anytime I'm there, I'm like, tall buildings, never seen buildings as tall in my life. But it's the people that you meet, and every single person has a story, and just getting to hear theirs and getting to share mine has been the best part.
Beautiful. I have one that might be too big, but I know that you all are also talking more about environmental issues. And that's one of those things like COVID that, climate and environmental problems really are one of those things that show us we are in this together. Is that part of how you're discussing it in Friends Forever as something that needs work, and you all in every place and can be doing that work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is something that we're really passionate about. I believe we are a green campus here. I believe we have solar panels, and we are, you know, I mean, it sounds so simple to say because it is so simple. We're doing our bit. We've got solar panels, we're recycling, and in our campus in Annalong, in Northern Ireland, we are working towards being a green campus there. And it's something that our alumni and our participants feel pretty strongly about. So it's definitely a change that we want to be a part of, and we're working on being a part of.
Great. That's great. I'm going to need to wrap this up. There's still some thoughts. We'll save the chat so you can see it later. I want to thank you just so much to you, Una, and also to Friends Forever International for doing this work and for coming and talking to us about it. Too often, I think activists feel like there aren't enough youth in the movement, and it is nice to be reminded that you all are here doing the work and you're with us. And I'm gonna put into the chat some links so that people can follow up both with your group and with, let me just do that, with Friends Forever. Us at New Hampshire Peace Action, we're at nhpeaceaction.org. We're also on Facebook. You can learn more about what we're working on and what's coming up next in our conversation series. Let me say this series is free and open to everyone, but if you are able to contribute, your financial support makes all of our work possible. It's really helpful for us. And again, I put some links in there. Our next event 2 weeks from today is going to be, I'm going to grab that date. Sorry, I didn't have that lined up there. We are going to be hearing from, the topic will be Yemen. March marks 7 years of war in Yemen, and we want to do more work to deal with that crisis. This is a war that the U.S. is supporting and is leading to a huge catastrophe and humanitarian disaster. So I hope that you'll join us. Hassan El Taib is the Friends Committee on National Legislation's Legislative Director for Middle East Policy. He's a great guy, and we are going to be really happy to have him and hear more about what we can do to make a difference there. There'll be lots more coming up. I'm going to leave it at that. We're hitting 8 o'clock. But again, thank you to Una. Thank you to Friends Forever. Thank you to everyone for showing up. We're just so happy to have spent this time together.